Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing you another audio commentary, and this time I am commentating on the Protoss vs Zerg Race Wars. This is the ultimate and final set 7. However, before we get to the main event, I just want to point out to you guys a little bit in the direction of the Qatar Cup, which is an international intercollegiate tournament featuring some top schools from the United States going up against some top international universities, including one from Sweden, China, and Beijing. So this is going to be absolutely huge. You guys should definitely check it out. You can get more information about it via the featured video on my YouTube page, or alternatively, that is a video put up by Cholera, or you can go to Cholera's page and look up the video there. And definitely check it out. I believe the first live cast will be on tonight, and it should be a fantastic piece of entertainment. And hopefully, if I get a chance to cast some of those games at some point, I will try to do so as well. But that's a little bit more up in the air. But yeah, definitely check it out. There's $1,000 of prize money on the line, and it is the pride of the US Ivy League schools against some of the most skilled schools, internationally speaking. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how well the Ivy League schools fare, or will they be undone in StarCraft, a sport which is not yet at its pinnacle in the United States. Anyway, forget all that. This is StarCraft. This is Savior versus Bisu. This is the blistering blindness of a supernova against the chaos and dark of empty space. This is the forces of order versus the forces of chaos. It is Cain versus Abel. It is Alien versus Predator. It is the Maestro versus the Assassin, the dagger, the hidden dagger that is Bisu. This is the Protoss versus Zerg. This is, in my opinion, the ultimate StarCraft rivalry, the biggest StarCraft rivalry, bar none. A lot of people talk about Boxer versus Yellow. Well, I gotta tell you guys, for me, the Savior-Bisu rivalry is a lot bigger than Boxer versus Yellow. Even though I'm a huge Boxer fan, even though I'm a huge Yellow fan. And the reason for that is that Boxer versus Yellow wasn't really a rivalry. Unfortunately, even though I'm a huge Yellow fan, I have to admit, it was just Yellow making it to the finals and then receiving a beatdown from Boxer on 3 occasions. A hat-trick of beatdowns, unfortunately, for the esteemed Yellow. But I do hope to see him rise back to his best someday, although it's looking more and more unlikely. Anyway, this is Savior versus Bisu, and that's the truth of this rivalry. This is a true rivalry because these guys have gone up against each other so many times, and both have extracted important wins from the other. Both players, Bisu knocking Savior down when he was at his highest, at his peak, at his pedestal, revolutionizing Protoss play. Savior was a player who obviously changed the landscape of Zerg forever, and so many players have watched and learned from Savior, and so many Zerg players, including Jaedong, who is currently one of the top Zerg, well, probably the top Zerg player, arguably. I still think that on his day, Savior, I think overall, probably Jaedong is, because Jaedong Zerg versus Zerg is so special, it's hard to say that Savior is better than him. But at the same time, I do feel that Savior versus Protoss and versus, especially versus Protoss, can be better than Jaedong. I think Savior has a much better chance of beating Bisu than Jaedong does. This is going to be played on Tau Cross, and I think this is the perfect venue, although perhaps Return of the King would be more aptly named. Looks like both players are going to scout in the correct direction to start out with. Bisu setting his probe southwards towards Savior's base. Savior setting his Overlord towards the 1 o'clock base, which is where Bisu is in red, and Savior at the 5 o'clock base in yellow. And this is going to be an absolutely fascinating contest, folks. And yeah, I think Tau Cross and Savior looks like he's gone for a 9 pool, and Bisu is going to scout this because he's scouted in the right direction. So Bisu's going to have a little bit of an advantage early on. Savior now putting the extractor down as well. Oh, he's using the extractor to get himself an extra drone. So it looks like Savior was trying to put some early pressure on Bisu, and now that Bisu scouted this, he's going to be ready for it. I think he's probably put his pylon and forge down right now at his natural expo, so he's probably getting ready to put a couple of cannons down since he scouted this. And this is what Bisu does that allows him to play so well against Zerg players. Their surprise strategies don't work against him. He's able to adapt, and because of his reflexes and because of his quick thinking, he's always able to come around. Savior looks like he's going for his natural expo, and that's the other advantage that Bisu gains, and Maestro of Zerg is right. That's the other advantage that Bisu gains from sending that probe out so early, is that if he does scout the Zerg player, he can also harass the Zerg opponent and prevent him from getting that expansion down, and the Zerg opponent is forced to bring an extra drone off the line, which means a little bit less mining time, a little bit less minerals, and again, further delay in getting that expansion down. Savior looks like he's finally going to get the hash down. Bisu continually delaying Savior from putting that expansion down. Great harassment by Bisu. You've got to give him all the credit for that. But Savior finally looks like will get his secondary down. And Savior, I think initially looks like okay, spawning pool is up. So Savior has only put a couple of Zerglings out because he knows that Bisu has scouted his build. So therefore he stopped building Zerglings and he's immediately decided to switch, realizing that that Gabman hasn't paid off. And you would have to argue that Bisu probably gains a slight early advantage from that, although Bisu has put the 2 photon cannons on and Bisu immediately cancelling the 1 photon cannon. So huge bind games at play here. Savior only producing the 2 lings once he'd been scouted. Bisu putting the 2 photon cannons out and then cancelling the second one when we realized that Savior was not actually producing that many lings, getting that Nexus out that little bit sooner. So both players just searching and yearning for every little advantage they can find. This matchup means so much for them. I know this matchup isn't a tournament matchup. I don't think there's a lot of prize money on the line. But these guys, when they face up against each other, everything is on the line. It is literally a matter of their professional life or death, because the reputation is everything in StarCraft, and both of these guys want to have the reputation of beating the other. And I think Savior probably more so than Bisu. I think Savior probably feels the sting a little bit more than Bisu did, because Bisu was the player who showed everyone, who showed Protoss how they could overcome Savior, and who showed that Savior could be beaten at a time when he looked utterly invincible. So Bisu now sending another probe out, and he's going to scout out that expansion that Savior's setting up at the 8 o'clock position. Bisu doing a good job of scouting Savior. I have seen Bisu taken down previously on Talkcross versus a Zerg. I cannot remember who that was. I don't think it was Savior, but I did see Bisu get taken down on this map by a Zerg using a similar strategy. At the same time, I did actually see Bisu take down a Zerg on this map as well, where his multitasking just kept the Zerg at bay on so many different bases, and the Zerg player was just not able to cope. I believe I commented that game, but I cannot remember who it was against. It was a couple of months ago. Anyway, so Savior now has his Natural Expo up and running. Bisu once again sending a probe down. Savior cleverly having a couple of Zerglings there to block that, knowing that Bisu has the propensity to scout. Against a lesser Protoss player, he might not need to do that, but on this occasion he definitely does. So Bisu's just going to be going to have to content himself with doing a little bit of harass with that probe since he cannot get through. Saviour's not pulling the lings out. Bisu, meanwhile, Cybernetics core going down for him. Saviour's got Overlords out in position. So Savior with the scouting information advantage right now, because he's got full scouting information on Bisu, and this I guess could translate potentially into the Bisu build, but the key for that obviously is surprise, and Bisu's not going to have that on his side. He's now got the Cybernetics core down. He hasn't produced, interesting enough, Cybernetics core down has come down quite late, so he hasn't got any Dragoons or anything like that to usher those Overlords away. So Saviour's finally starting to move that Overlord away towards the direction of the wall, towards the west of Bisu's base, and Savior now starting up his lair tech as well. Looks like he might be putting a Spire down, and Savior is indeed going straight for the Spire, so no Hydralisk Den for Savior, and Bisu, of course, not having that scouting information, is not going to know what Saviour's up to. Bisu starting up his Stargate, so Savior's Spire starting up at the same time. Normally you would see that Stargate go up a lot earlier, so Bisu's tech definitely on the slow side. He obviously focusing on economy, feeling that he's going to try and overwhelm Savior, so we can expect some sort of a timing attack from Bisu, focused at one point to hit Savior at his weakest, at a point of weakness.